The Last Roundup
Horror Show.
Okay, we're recording like a boss.
You are listening to the Last Roundup Horror Show. I am Frank, and with me, as always, is Jason and Jared.
Hi.
So, welcome back, guys. We're here again doing this.
Thanks for welcoming me back.
I wanted to welcome you back to your mom's craft shed, or whatever this is.
There just aren't enough 30-year-old men doing podcasts about horror movies in their mom's shed. I think we fill a very needed niche.
Yeah, that's true. We're back again with another 3 reviews and news and more. Up first, we're going to talk about Beyond the Gates from 2016, directed by Jackson Stewart. Here's the summary. 2 estranged brothers reunite at their missing father's video store and find a VCR board game dubbed Beyond the Gates that holds a connection to their father's disappearance. Jason, did you have any additional information?
I do. This has a tagline, Press, Play, and Pray. Distributed by IFC Midnight, which we've done a couple of those already. And it was put out on Blu-ray by Scream Factory in 2017.
Yeah, it's...
And Jared's also mentioned Supernatural several times, and he Jackson Stewart also did some writing on there.
Yeah.
It's also got a lot of purple in it.
A lot of purple, like
Pink, blues, and purples, yes.
I like the colors a lot.
A lot of purple.
Most of the things I enjoyed about this movie had nothing to do with the storyline, though, I'll be honest. Here's the list of things I really enjoyed about this movie. The fucking video store. I want that place. I want to own that place. I want to live in it, really. I mean, just be in there.
That would be something that'd be nice to inherit.
That is and they're just disassembling. They're disassembling it. They're just tearing it down.
As soon as they walked in, they want to box it up.
Yeah. The VHS game itself brought back memories of me really wanting to play those things, but I don't think I ever did. Did you guys?
Yes, I did.
Which one did you play? Nightmare?
Yeah, that seems to be the most popular one. Yeah, I played the crap out of that game. I never owned it, but had friends across the street and down the way who had it.
Man, I always wanted to play that shit. I just never got to. I liked all the horror references throughout the movie. I think that I heard the name Hardesty thrown around. There was little like nods to horror throughout the whole thing. Of course, Barbara Crampton is fucking still beautiful as shit. I like Barbara Crampton, and very highly effective as like a creepy ghost figure type thing.
She was a producer too, wasn't she?
Yeah. Yep. I like the idea of the movie a lot, but not necessarily the execution. I think I wanted more out of it. Like I wanted more shit to happen board game related, but not a whole lot of. It's kind of uneventful, basically.
Well, I know what you mean. You wanted more to happen. Like once they started playing the game, I really wanted something more. But then again, it's low budget. You do what you can. So I think the easiest thing to do is throw some lights in there, make it colorful.
Yeah, the colors were really fantastic, but
great theme song too. The way it comes in, and then showing the workings of a VCR.
Oh yeah,
that was awesome.
Yeah, there was a lot of things I enjoyed about it, but I wanted more of a Jumanji kind of thing. I wanted like bats and shit. Like I wanted it to be horrored out, like werewolves and shit. Why wasn't there just werewolves everywhere?
Again, it's budget.
Yeah, it's true. Overall, though, it was fine the way they did things. I gave it a 6 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. Who's next?
Frank got to the rating right away.
Well, I mean, we take turns.
I really, really wanted to like this, and I do. But like you said, I kind of was left wanting a little bit more. Some of the complaints I've seen is the fact that, like, once they start playing the game, that's all they do is just they're still in the house just with pink, purple, and blue lights. It's slow in some parts. especially in the first act, there's not a lot of kills, but the kills that they do have, I think were great.
Mhm.
They were almost that over the top practical. You got heads exploding, and the guy they're using the. It was the guy's friend in the bar.
Yeah, like the
tear
voodoo doll.
Yeah, they
type
tear
thing.
open the doll to get the key. That was great. This also has a really great poster. Great music, very nostalgic. The story's cool. The acting, it's okay.
Yeah.
Again, Barbara Crampton's in there. I would have liked for her to have like
More of an active
a bigger
role.
role. I mean, she plays
She was in it all the time, but
yeah, she plays the host on the
right.
on the tape for the game. I think if you grew up in the 90s, especially if you play these games, it's a must see. I gave it an 8.
Yeah, I gave it an 8 as well. But I give it an 8, but I talked to a couple other people about it too. It's not an 8.
Yeah, I'm guessing the same for
Yeah.
you and me is the nostalgia part
Yeah,
of
it's
it brought it up.
Yeah, it's not an 8. It's a kind of messy movie. Like, I kept wondering, they'll start playing, and very early on it's like, we can't stop playing. We have to play. And then they just kind of stop playing. Like, they'll be like, I'm going to go to bed, or I'm going to eat dinner, and then the next day comes around and they're playing again. And it's like, we can't stop playing or she'll get mad. And then it's like, yeah, I'm just going to sit around. And, like, it's very stop and start.
The way that she's just always active. Like, could you turn that off? If you knew you're like, she was like responding to you, and you knew that she was always just staring out of your TV actively, there.
The thing that gets me,
It'd be out the front door. It wouldn't be in my VCR.
the thing that gets me is like, they'll go back to the video store and just start cleaning up videos again.
Yeah,
Yeah, that happened after
They
like
did
the
do
first
that.
or second one, or they'll just eat they'll cook dinner.
Well, you got to eat.
But you're kind of realize you're trapped in the middle of this horror game,
Yeah. No,
and then you just
it has its
stop. Like,
flaws for sure.
maybe it's not, and so it's not. Yeah, like, I give it an 8, but it's purely on enjoyment.
Right.
I enjoyed it as an 8. One of the things I liked most about it is I think this is the most, like, there's a big nostalgia feel, but it didn't remind me of like The Void or Stranger Things, where I felt like they were obviously, there's a few parts, but where they're obviously tipping their hands to nostalgia. It felt authentic. Like, if I would not have read this or known who Barbara Crampton is and seen that she's older, I think this is believably, film quality wise, everything about it, how it plays, it's believably a movie from the late 80s or early 90s. Like, some of it is bad just in the way those movies are bad. That's not a like tip to the hat. Like, you remember when movies kind of did this? It's bad in the same way. And so like, a lot of the things where I got the real nostalgia feels weren't things they were like winking or nodding. It's just, it was like, oh, that wasn't very good, but in a way that a lot of movies I loved growing up weren't very good. It really, so I give it an 8 because I thought it was fun as shit. If I was actually ranking it on how solid of a movie it is, it would be lower.
Yeah, it's slower.
Yeah,
and not a lot happens. And again, once they start playing the game, the only thing that's really different is the colors. But the colors are beautiful.
Yeah,
I love it. I love the way it looks.
The thing that I thought was weird, well, it was funny, was when I was looking up, like, before I watched it, just doing a little research, I was like, I can't find a single fucking picture of anything that happens in the movie. It's because it was so sparse with things.
Well, yeah, there's 4 keys in the game, so there was probably 4 deaths.
Yeah, there's 4 deaths, but then they die again.
So that's
Three
why
of- or
the
three
trailer
of them
was so
die.
vague.
Yeah, and then someone comes in from beyond
there's-
the gates.
there's
So
a
yeah, there may
woman.
be 5 or 6.
Yeah, but it was, I mean, it's really, it wasn't over the top like the way some of the new movies that are trying to do the throwbacks to the 80s do what they did back then, but over the top. It wasn't. It's like a lot of those late 80s movies where you get it and it looks like it's going to be great, but you find out that they didn't do as much as you wanted with it. There weren't as many deaths as you hoped. It was very...
Another great character in this, and actually people Well, he's right. What's his name? Jackson Stewart. He's writing part 2. But what a lot of people are hoping for is the character that was inside the store.
Yeah.
That weird guy.
weird
They go to the
guy.
store to try to find where the dad purchased the game. They're hoping for kind of a spin-off of just
that'd be good.
just
That
him.
would be
He
really
is a good character. I mean,
Yeah. And his store, I imagine you could fill it with all sorts of.
Yeah.
You could do an anthology movie.
You could
off
pass
that.
this game around a lot of times.
It wouldn't even have to be the game. Like anything in that store,
Yeah.
you had some kind of a curse.
You
to
could
it.
you could do an anthology movie.
Yeah,
and
but
do a lot
actually, I
of
think
cool
it was
little
on the
skins.
news segment for the last show.
yeah.
That
But yeah,
he's writing part 2.
If you get the really nostalgic feels from late 80s, early 90s, it's worth a watch because it's fun. But if you don't, you're probably going to say, well, that's an idea that they didn't do near enough with and was kind of boring.
It
And
almost
and
you
a
could almost
sloppy
say if
put-together
you
movie.
didn't appreciate horror like as much as we do, you might say you just watched some people play a board game. But on to the news.
And now the Last Roundup Horror Show news.
Here's some news for you. Nicholas Pesce's The Grudge reboot will be released August 16th, 2019. Produced by Sam Raimi and Rob Tapert through their company Ghost House. Rob Zombie's 3 from Hell has finished shooting and Bill Moseley is singing its praise. In a Facebook post he said, "When this movie comes out, your guys' mindsies are going to be blown." I personally enjoyed the first 2 movies of this trilogy, House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects, so I'm really excited to see this. On-Set Cinema is a company dedicated to screening movies at their actual filming locations. We all have our favorite movies, and what a better way to see them than where they were made. Head over to myershousenc.com to learn more. And director of A Quiet Place, John Krasinski's next project will re-team him with Paramount and Platinum Dunes in a sci-fi film titled Life on Mars, an adaptation of a short story by Cecil Castellucci titled We Have Always Lived on Mars. And just a couple Blu-ray releases on April 24th. Arrow Video's release of Killer Clowns from Outer Space and The Boneyard. That's it for the news.
We're back from the news.
Back from the news.
And we're moving into a movie featured on Shudder as a Shudder original. Is this the first Shudder original that they did?
What are we doing?
Mayhem, 2017.
Oh, it's a Shudder exclusive, but I don't know if it's always only been on Shudder or if it was out before.
Someone else made it, and Shudder bought the rights to only play it there.
It was directed by Joe Lynch, who did a segment in Chillerama and also did Wrong Turn 2. It was written by Mattias Caruso, and I don't believe there was any credits that I saw that were notable. A summary: a virus spreads through an office complex, causing white-collar workers to act out their worst impulses. Jason, did you have additional
I
information?
do. The tagline is Hostile Work Environment, distributed by RLJE Films and Shudder, and put out on Blu-ray by Image Entertainment in 2017. I don't know if you said the director, but it was directed by Joe Lynch. Again, I didn't see any credits to him. So
He did Chillerama, a segment on Chillerama, and Wrong Turn 2. So, I felt that this was a cash grab in a lot of ways, like trying to grab off the momentum of Walking Dead and The Babysitter. This came out after The Babysitter, right?
yeah. It's very similar to, it has the same feel as the Belko Experiment. If you guys have seen that. Takes place in an office, and
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
yeah, same feel to it.
It's not badly done. I just think that the story disintegrates. The whole premise of this is that this virus is making people lose they have no ability to control their what they want to do. Like if they want to fucking stab somebody, they're gonna do it. But through the whole movie, it seems to me that what's his name, the dude from Walking Dead, Stephen Yeun or whatever, he seems to have very much control of himself, to the fact of he can say like law shit before he kills a bunch of people. So that like kind of negates the he's out of his mind.
Yeah, there's so several people. I guess the people the people in the background are losing their freaking minds. But anyone that has a line, like even all the executives, I mean, they're still holding a meeting. Yeah, but their eyes all red out like they're infected. So yeah,
the case that he won, this whole idea of why it's legal, was a guy that was losing his mind and stabbing a guy in the face. It was crazy gore, and he's just going through this whole movie very casual. It kind of reminded me of that fucking Scott Pilgrim movie where he's like a video game, like levels. He was going up the building and he had to get the key
Wreck-It
cards.
Ralph.
Yeah, it was very much. It's not a horror movie at all. It's an action. It's gore.
It's
flick.
graphic and very bloody.
It's like a Tarantino style Kill Bill action movie of revenge.
I put a little bit of horror into it, I guess, just for the gore. But I have written down here an action horror with lots of stunts and chaos.
Yeah, but basically, and they compared it to like Die Hard. It's not like Die Hard, except for there's a building. I mean, but how many?
Nothing happens like this in Die Hard.
It was fun watch, but I doubt that I'll ever watch this again. Just it was like so disposable, such a popcorn kind of thing. It could have been really great if they would have just made it. They were insane and they were losing their mind. But he's like making speeches and calling people out. He's calling his shots. And I have a feeling that after this whole thing went down, all the camera footage of him just killing people, he'd just go straight to jail and all his lawsuit.
You have that virus, so anything that you do is forgiven.
Yeah, well, work it out, Shudder. I don't know. I give it a 5 out of 10. I think they needed to commit to the story's lore and what the fucking thing was happening was. So I wasn't impressed.
No, it looks really good. The cinematography is good. There's lots of there's lots of good shots. There's a lot of the slow motion shots and whatnot. It's very graphic, very bloody. The two lead roles, that Chinese guy, frankly, I'm sick of him from The Walking Dead. I'm sick of The Walking Dead.
Right.
I have six episodes recorded of this season. I have no urge to watch it. But anyway, the concept, it's okay. The story has lots of holes. You pointed out a couple of them. The acting was good. There's a little bit of humor in it. It's entertaining. I had fun with it. I will never own this movie. I'll probably never watch it again. Since it was done so well, I did give it a 7.
Jared?
This was the one I didn't get to. I've been making an album. Got busy. Missed one.
Like you're the only one making an album.
You've been done for...
I've watched 25 movies this month. Made an album.
You did...
Father of 3.
You did 25 movies?
You did.
Oh, yeah,
You did 3 months, man. I've been...
Well, maybe not this month, but I mean from the last taping.
I've been 350. You know how many waves I had to send to
He's
I had
been
to export
waves.
close to 300.
Jared runs a podcast and doesn't watch the movies. It's okay.
I got busy, and I am not ashamed. Let's face it. I'm here because I have the equipment to record it.
No.
Jared.
Not at all. You're here because of the Reading Rainbow of Death.
Yes, we need.
That's where we're
We
at
needed
now.
someone with a little bit of intelligence on the show.
Yeah.
Like, just a little
You're
bit.
scraping the bottom.
I
of the
mean,
barrel.
you say some big words, so it makes us look better.
Anyways, I
Or
got
dumber.
a little tied up on this one, so I didn't get to watch it. So I'm going to give it a 6.
Yeah, I mean, that's right in between us.
Yeah, I want to say
I
it
would
sounds
say
like they know what they're talking about.
It's a safe score.
I actually, a 7's probably a little bit high.
I'm surprised, actually.
only because the production value, and it was fun. It was entertaining to watch, but.
It's like a Pepsi ad.
I didn't even have to watch it. I nailed it right on the money.
I mean, you guys kind of gave the House of Willow Street, I believe, a higher rating because of it being well done. Yeah. So I can do it once in a while too.
Hey,
do whatever you want.
All right.
I didn't even watch it. Why you arguing with my rating?
I'm yelling right at you. You have no idea about me.
What's you got an interview?
Yeah, I got an interview.
Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow.
All right, today with us on the Reading Rainbow of Death, we have Curtis M Lawson, author of It's a Bad, 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 Bad World, the short story anthology Black Pantheons, horror western novel Devoured, which is also available on audiobook, and then the sequel to Bad World, To Kill an Archangel. I found out about him through Doug Rinaldi, our first guest and a friend of the show, and have got through Black Pantheons, the first Bad World, and most of Devoured, and have found all of it really, it's all really fun read. Lots of gore, lots of action. Black Pantheons is a bit more subtle horror, but the other ones are lots of gore, lots of action, and they read pretty fast for not a lot of slow parts in them. So, Curtis, thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
And like I said, pretty much we always just kind of start the show. You have a bit different. The one thing I was going to ask you different than everybody else is horror is a big chunk of what you do, but you have everything like the Devoured and the Bad Worlds, especially. They have a bit more than just horror. Do you consider yourself just a horror writer, or do you kind of just feel that you lean in that direction but don't feel tied to it?
I don't necessarily feel tied to horror. It's kind of an easy shorthand for what I do, I guess. I consider myself an author of dark fiction and weird fiction. Everything I do has a darker element to it for the most part. Back when I did, I used to do comic books and graphic novels a lot before I started writing prose. Even when I did superhero stuff, I did a webcomic called Curse of the Black Terror, and it was a really dark anti-hero kind of thing. I've done some sci-fi kind of stuff, but it always tends to have this darker element. Like you said with the Devoured, it's also a Western story. It's a family story, not like family friendly, but about family.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't want to confuse anybody out there. Have them buy it for their kids, but it's a bad, 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 bad world. It is kind of a mashup. It's one of those things I'm really bad at selling because I don't know how to describe it. I'm like, it's one part, police procedural, one part spy novel, one part horror, one part cult thriller, Tarantino movie meets Dan Brown. It's so all over the place. And when I wrote it, I just wrote it for myself, for fun. I never in a million years thought anybody would buy it or like it, but it's turned into my most popular book, which is kind of funny since I don't really know how to describe it to people.
Yeah, and it that one especially, the Bad Worlds. I've really enjoyed Black Pantheon. If it's Lovecrafty in tone. I know a lot of people get compared to Lovecraft in that, and they'll have the sound. A lot of what they write has the sound. You don't nothing in Black Pantheon has really felt like I'm reading Lovecraft, but the feeling I get from reading it, that kind of dark, nihilistic, uncaring universe is in Black Pantheon. Devoured and Black World, or Bad World, especially Bad World. Bad World really feels, I think old Grindhouse cult movies and Tarantino set up.
Yeah, those were huge inspirations for it. So
yeah, set up in a horror world. The main just is all these terrible people after these knives that were I don't know if you ever refer to it as Dracula, but Vlad 3. They were his knives that kind of grant him the immortality and the vampire powers he's known for, and they're just killing each other and other people in order to get them. But it's very high-paced action. So the Tarantino Grindhouse cult, I think, is perfect, which I haven't got to read a lot of books that feel like that. So this one was a lot of fun. And is that
it's interesting that you say that, because whenever people do reviews of it, they always use movies as a point of reference rather than other books, which I find kind of interesting.
And I my personal reason for it is the pace. A lot of times, you'll be reading a book. Books will tend to get more in detail into backstories and subtleties, and you'll hit slower parts. Bad World doesn't really slow down. It reads like a popcorn flick watches. Like it hits the gas and it goes.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I think that's probably where the reference is. Now, I know you said the Grindhouse and Tarantino was the inspiration in it. Was it just something you felt you always wanted to do, or did you maybe feel you needed a change in pace from some of your other stuff, or just like what was kind of that's the main one I'm talking about today. I've enjoyed the others a lot, but
sure.
I've loved that one. But like what was it just something that happened, or did you sit down and say, I want to write a book that feels like this?
No, it was kind of something that happened. I actually came up with the title first. Years before I wrote the book, I just, there's this old movie called It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
Yes.
Which I've always enjoyed. And, that's where the idea kind of came from. I wanted to take that title and do It's a Bad, 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 Bad World, and have all these awful people in kind of a similar, like, madcap thing where they're just really colorful characters all chasing this MacGuffin or whatnot, but I wanted to have them be awful, violent criminals. So that's where the idea came from. And I had a couple of different ideas for the story that I developed and throughout, and then eventually I came up with this concept. And I wanted to do something just fun, really. And I've always enjoyed like that kind of grindhouse cinema. I'm a big fan of Tarantino and like exploitation films, things like that. So I sat down, and with that in mind, I just came up with some characters that I thought would be interesting. And then on note cards, I wrote down essentially cool scenes that I wanted to happen. And then I just built the plot around that. I was like, I want to have this mercenary fight a nun in a church that's all like burnt down and covered in ice. And then I want to have, these two guys, fight in this apartment with these other two people there. So it really was just kind of like very juvenile in how I structured it initially. I was just like a kid, like, I'm going to have these guys fight here and do this, and lasers and unicorns.
Well, and that I'd say that's what makes it so fun. Is
yeah, I think so.
And not that it's really easy to screw up doing something like that and everything fall apart when you kind of say a very simplified story. It's just these what you said. It's just these crazy people chasing a MacGuffin. There's the story, and run with it. And it's really easy for that to fall apart. The action and pacing of it keeps it all tied together. The characters, for as horrible as they are, as people, they are very interesting characters. None of them fall distinctly into any certain archetype. I don't think. There are some that are here and there. They are close. This one, but they all kind of. I noticed they all kind of have really horrible qualities, but then each one of them has this in differing levels, a bit of a redeeming quality or a quality. And I use redeeming really loosely. I don't know Eva. Like Eva. And Eva is after it for her son, and that's the only one that I think on a human level anyone could relate to. So
yeah, I think realistically in the real world, she's the only one anybody could actually relate to. But the Rhodesian's been the most popular character. Whenever people talk to me about this book, they always ask about the Rhodesian.
Yeah, and
I think it's because he's so over the top.
Yeah. Yeah, and he does kind of fall a bit into a bit into an action hero archetype, mainly because you don't get you get a little bit of his backstory, but you don't get a lot about him. He kind of fits the Boba Fett style, except with way more screen time. Like, as much screen time as he gets, you don't walk away feeling like you know the character. He's more his attitude comes through, and who he is comes through, but you don't, like, there's not a real deep character delve into his character. Just enough, like I said, just enough to give you reason. Eva, I think, has a redeeming quality. Everyone else, you give reasons for who they are. Most of those reasons fall short of being any bit of sympathetic. And getting worse as they go down, which was another thing I enjoyed about it. Like, I don't always have to sympathize with my characters. Eva was the most sympathetic character, but again, wasn't my favorite, or not that she's bad, just not the one that I was reading, or, you know, there were other ones I found more entertaining as characters. And I think it's because it really works that they aren't redeeming. You know.
Yeah, you know, one of the things I wanted to do with this book, you know, mostly it was just fun, and I wanted to do, you know, I just wanted to do something fun. But with the characters, character is it's my favorite part of writing, and I wanted to explore kind of the different shades of you know, of irredeemable, and I think it's interesting how we are, you know, what we have is our category of, you know, moral lows. So one of the things I wanted to explore with the Rhodesian is, you know, he's this killer for hire, you know, he's this, like, you know, this guy, he has these like racist views because he was from Rhodesia back in the day, and, you know, he's all around a bad guy, but, you know, he has limits, like he won't kill kids. And then you have Mr. Kingsley, who is, you know, very cordial and all around like polite guy, but, you know, ruins people's lives. He's like a professional sadist.
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of explore kind of the different levels of evil, so to speak, and, you know, kind of study morality from that point of view. Like, what is, you know, is the Rhodesian a worse person than Mr. Kingsley because he has a higher body count, or because, you know, he holds to this, you know, racist ideology, or is Sister Michelle the worst character? And I thought it was interesting to kind of look at morality in that way, which is probably a little bit deeper than anybody wants to get with a book about people killing each other over knives, but I nerd out over stuff like that. So
yeah, and it does a really great job, and that's what it's. I've found it hard to talk completely about the book because it's easy to say it's these terrible people. Like, I've brought up Mad World, talking about it. I've stopped saying that because I get a lot of blank faces. I used to watch that with my parents growing up, and so I got the title. I kind of knew what it was, and it being, I could tell that's kind of where it came from. I was like, awesome. But I've brought it up to other people. It's like, you've seen that old movie, and they're like, no. It's like, oh, well, that doesn't work. So I've just stopped. But there's simultaneously very little and a lot going on in the book at the same time. Like, the story is very bare bones. The characters, you don't go all around on the characters, but so it doesn't flesh these full characters out, but at the same time it delves really deep into specifics, like how horrible they are, and like I said, they each have this kind of one, maybe not redeemable, but justifiable aspect of who they are. Like, I'm this awful because this happened, and it does drop heavy into those. So it may not be a complete character study on any of these characters, but it also does, none of them come off as one-dimensional. And so it works it works either way. If you don't want a big character study or get into anything and just fast in action, it reads through and is great. But if you enjoy that, it's not that there's a lack of it. So it's been hard to explain because everything I say, it's like, well, it's that, but it's also not. It's also not that at all.
It's one of the things I was really worried about with the second book was the first book just kind of wrote itself. I just, you said I just kind of went to town on these scenes. And just by the nature of turning it into a series, I had to give more thought to the plot of the second book, and I had to develop some of the characters more. And I was really concerned that the pacing was going to slow down and it was kind of going to lose some of the stuff that made the first book special. I'm still kind of concerned about because it only came out about a month ago, but so far people said the pacing is still really fast and that it's better than the first book. So I'm hoping that as more readers get to it, they'll agree with that consensus.
Yeah, that one's next. That one's one of the next ones on my list. I know I had told you, and I'm just finishing the last tweaks on stuff. Everything was already sent in and got some files back to redo, but I've been finishing this album. So Bad World, I kind of broke up, like chunk here, here, and it's not an overly long book, and I hate doing that on shorter books anyways, but especially when that action-packed. So I think I ordered To Kill an Archangel the day you put it up, as soon as the physicals were out, but I haven't touched it because I am waiting on this until I can just sit down and know, like 1 or 2 sit downs and read it, because I haven't got to kill an Archangel yet, but because I don't want to have that breakup in it. I
can understand that
fast paced. It makes it too herky jerky. But the one last thing I wanted to say about it is just that's a bit of my praise, because it's something I don't see people do, and it gets back to how you done the characters. The fact that you give them all a justifiable character without worrying about it being redeeming, I think in the end that was really what made the whole story work as well as it did, because that's rare.
Thank you.
Normally it'd be like, okay, here's this horrible person, here's why he's horrible. You'll either get like, this is why he's horrible. Like Eva. You'll get an Eva, she's horrible, but this is why, and they'll come up with a reason that, I understand that, yes, I can. Or you'll get like, here's a horrible person, we're not going to give him a reason why he's horrible, he's just a horrible person. You actually taking the time to be like, here are the justifiable reasons all these characters are terrible people, and I'm leaving it that it's not enough. It's not enough justification to make them slightly redeeming, but I will give you a lot of the reason why. So, and you just kind of force people to accept that. Like, there's no choice. When you read the book, you don't get a choice. You end up rooting for people, but no one's anyone you actually want to root for because they're all awful. And you just kind of force readers to say,
there's no good guys.
Yeah, and you just kind of force readers to say, all right, deal with that. just deal with this. Yep. These people, they all have reasons you can understand. It's like, that's how a person turns out bad, but you still can't forgive them for it. And I think with the tone of the book and the fast-paced action story, that fills in that last little bit and really what sells it. And like I said, I haven't really read too many books that I can think of off the top of my head, or watch movies, or any I can think of off the top of my head, where someone does that so successfully. Like, they're horrible.
Well, thank you very much.
They're horrible, but you understand why they're horrible, but the understanding doesn't make it okay. And it's just such a weird feeling for a story, because people like to wrap things up so nice and tight in little bows. This guy was bad, he died. This guy was good, he saves the day. This guy was bad and turned good, and now we love him. And this is just like, some of them live, some of them die. None of them deserve to. The one that might have, I don't want to give anything away, but like people that you might want to live are probably going to die. People that don't deserve to live. People that don't deserve to live also die, and they all do it in these horrific ways, and there you go. So, and I think that made it feel real.
It's interesting when originally the book was going to be published by Winlock Press, but some things happened and that didn't end up going through. They didn't want me to use this title. They didn't want it to be called It's Bad, 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 Bad World. They thought it was too long. Nobody would get the movie reference. So it was almost called Almost Everybody Dies.
Which is an appropriate title.
Yeah.
But yeah, that overall feeling, I thought, for as over the top as your story is, the way and how horrible the characters are, the way you did them, it made it. My suspension of disbelief didn't come into. It didn't get tested at all. Something about how you did the characters that way made everything like I bought it all. I was like, yes, this feels like real life.
Good.
So I mean, as real life as these characters chasing around mystical knives with magic powers can actually get.
And not in a more subtle way. I tried to do that with the Devoured too, with the character of the old man. He's definitely like the hero of the story in the Devoured, but he does a lot of bad things, and he's so unapologetic about it because, kind of like Ava, he's out to save his son. And
yeah,
he just has this singular focus. And if anyone or anything that gets in his way, there's no line he won't cross for that goal.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of a theme I like to visit in varying ways in my work. So
yeah, which is another book of yours. Everything I've read so far of yours, I would recommend. The Devoured, Black Pantheons, and Bad World, I would definitely recommend. I can't imagine I won't be saying that I also recommend To Kill an Archangel as well, because they've all been fantastic, and they all kind of have that. At least the Devoured and Archangel, it has a Western feel of It's a Bad, Bad, Bad World, only just not quite as action paced and more character driven. But it still has that kind of overall feeling to the way you handle characters and the way you push the story. It's that as a Western supernatural. So yes, I recommend everything you do. So far.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, we're wrapping about up in 20 minutes right now. So I know I talked to Doug about it. He was the first guest on our show. I know, and it's one thing I'm very excited about. I know you got a I can't think of what you do when you two writers writing the same book, but you got a book coming out with Doug. Collaboration. There was the word. It's getting late, and I just woke up from a nap. So you got a collaboration coming out with Doug sometime in the future. And what else do you got coming down the pipeline?
Well, the collaboration with Doug is the big thing. I just got his kind of hopefully his last round of edits that I have to go through. And we're gonna talk to a couple of publishers about that. That's a cosmic horror story, but with a kind of a comedic tone, but still very dark. Doug and I have a similar sense of humor, so I think it'll come across well for anyone who's enjoyed either of our works. After that, I'm working on the third book and the final book in the Bad World series. Which will be called Bad World 3, A Slight Case of Armageddon. And that's going to wrap up the whole storyline with Fangs of Wallachia, and it's going to be way more over the top than anything I've ever written.
Oh, that's
hopefully I don't jump the shark completely.
Well, if you're going to jump a shark, I think you're in the right. I think Bad World is the right arena to jump it in.
Thank you. And other than that, I'm working. I have an idea that I'm trying to flesh out for I think it might be a novella, but it's going to be very music centric and a little bit more subtle and singular character driven than my other stuff. Still supernatural horror, still very violent and dark, but it's going to be kind of more quiet about it. So, but that's in the very infantile stages right now, about 1,000 words in. So,
all right. Well,
that's about it.
There are things to look forward to coming from Curtis. I know we brought up Doug. I will go ahead and plug it because I've started it. He just had Fear of Freestanding Objects, his anthology, come out. I've already read most of those. yeah, I've read most of those already. I get lucky enough that he usually sends me drafts, finished drafts or first drafts, and that one's kind of almost a greatest hits of all my favorite stuff that he's wrote, so I recommend that, not to take away from Curtis's stuff, but it's come out and I haven't had time to mention it, so that's there. We didn't talk about Black Pantheons very much. I am going to specifically plug that before we go right now because it is a fantastic anthology of dark, nihilistic feeling, Lovecraft tone fiction. I know you said it's not one of the ones that moves as quick as the others, which is a shame. And I admit I bought it because it was short stories and I didn't think I'd have a time to get through Devoured. So I understand why people, whatever that is, I don't know the reason. I probably would have skipped it for the Devoured as well, but since I didn't and I read it, I'm going to take the time right now just to say that should definitely be checked out because it's fantastic at capturing that Lovecraft tone. So make sure to plug that one more time before we go. And that has been the most recent episode of Reading Rainbow of Death. Everybody should go check out. All these are on Kindle and on Amazon. You can find all the books on Amazon. Is there anywhere else you want people to know where they can find you or find your work other than just Amazon and your Amazon page?
There's curtismlawson.com, and if you want, you can order directly from me. You can order signed books, and there's also links to the comics and graphic novels I've done on there, my work on Comixology. All that's linked to my website. So,
well, go hunt down Curtis M. Lawson and check out Bad World and the newest To Kill an Archangel, The Devoured, and Black Pantheons, and then look for all that other stuff coming in the future. And thanks again. So thanks, Curtis.
Thanks, Kurt.
Thanks, Curtis.
Can I
It was
call him
nice
Kurt?
talking to you.
You think I could call him Kurt? You think?
I imagine he's not going to do anything.
We'll see. Do something. Try something.
You know, he might.
I'll read your book, motherfucker. I'll read it.
He already said he didn't like you.
I probably.
Yeah, speaking
That makes
of a
sense.
book,
Hey,
yeah,
I got
Oh my
Jason
God.
a
Jared
book
finally gave me my book.
for Christmas.
Look
I bought
at
him
that.
that for Christmas and gave it to him in April.
Yeah.
Sometimes marriage
Spook
can
lights.
be an unholy union. Peanut butter in your hair keeps the bug man away.
We'll see. I mean,
Spook
I don't
lights
know.
from Muzzleland Press.
It's short stories, so
Yeah, some good ones in there.
might be able to get through without
It's
falling
some
asleep.
dandy artwork on the cover.
Thanks, Jared.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, on to
Hope you enjoy it.
I'm gonna give it a shot.
our third feature film. This is my pick. This is Slashers. I guess there was two of my picks on this one, huh? Odd. Written by Maurice Devereaux. Summary: a black comedy horror film in which 6 random contestants are put into a game show where they'll face evil clowns, evisceration-happy doctors, and wild maniacs. The winner has to survive the terror by being resourceful. Do you have any additional details?
Oh,
Probably not on this one.
I
huh?
mean, sure. Tagline:
It's a movie.
Tagline: 6 contestants, 3 slashers, no prisoners. Distributed by Bedford Entertainment. On DVD by Kino Lorber Films in 2008.
I don't want to be the first one to talk about this. Who wants to go
I'll
first?
talk about it
Okay,
first.
let's get you in there.
This movie was behind the 8 ball right from the beginning. When it's shot on video, it's like one camera through the entire movie. It's a Canadian horror that is supposed to feel like a Japanese game show. So I mean, right from the get-go, it's bad. The concept I think is cool.
It's kind of like a Running Man.
It's the Running Man.
Yeah, the
Running Man
the
with-
game show. I mean,
Yeah.
if it was
Done
if it was
well?
a real show, or
Yeah.
yes, if it was done well, yeah, it'd be it. But the execution of this is freaking terrible. The slashers are the best thing about it. The preacher man. Have we seen that mask before? Like, don't it kind of look like what's his name? The vampire movie we did.
Oh, fucking Mr. Longfingers?
Yeah, don't it kind of look like him?
Mr.
Anyway, so they got three.
Longfingers.
They got 3 slashers: the preacher man, Chainsaw Charlie, and Dr. Ripper. that's the highlight of the movie.
And Chainsaw Charlie and the Preacher Man are played by the same actor.
Oh well, great. Yeah.
There you
Well,
go.
yeah, because it only shows one at a time. They wanted it to be like a Japanese game show, so if they could have added more into that. They could have had, the fake commercials. They could have cut back to the host and the cheerleaders. Like the Japanese stuff is so weird and
They leave it at the front. They don't even deal with it.
Yeah. So if they would have mixed that in a little bit, it would have felt more like a Japanese show. And they should have had one, or they should have had more than one camera guy. When the contestants break off from each other, they could have flip back and forth between show me what these contestants are doing when they leave for 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Of course, they tried to make the cameraman a character. At the end, they try to incorporate him.
It felt too long. What was the runtime on this?
Oh, I have no idea.
Hour 39 minutes
of pure
And
fun.
It feels like a 2-hour 15-minute movie.
This movie should absolutely not have gone over an hour 20 minutes tops. The budget on this was $165,000,
which is really low.
No, how? Tell me how, because it's shot in a paintball arena.
When was it made though?
2001.
This is the 2000s. $160,000.
That was 17 years ago.
In 2000s,
almost $200,000. They shot it in a paintball arena.
In 2000s,
is that true?
Yes. There was basically they did nothing for the set. Like for most of the time, it's just people running through plywood.
Yeah, in 2000s, a really low budget horror movie was still $5-7 million.
No.
Yeah.
That's $5-7 million is considered low budget now.
It was back then.
No.
Yeah.
Jared, no.
Well, fine. Not $5-7 million. It was still at least $1 or $2 million.
A lower budget movie.
$1 or $2 million. That's still 10
they
times
had almost,
lower.
No, they had almost $200,000. Did you watch this movie?
I've seen it many times.
Okay,
actually.
So I mean, they're wearing masks. They're in a paintball arena that they did basically nothing to.
Yeah.
Like I said, most of the backdrop is plywood. They do up a mock bedroom with a bed. The effects was horrible. Like, what you didn't pay money for no effects artists. Like, where did $200,000
to be honest,
go?
the when the girl gets cut in half, I liked that.
It's
I liked that a lot.
It's okay.
I see what you're saying.
Even then, the camera's on the chick. They pan over, and when you come back, she's already almost split in
that's
half.
true.
Like,
Yeah, for
there's
sure.
no. I'm just saying I don't know. I thought the acting is absolutely freaking horrible.
Yeah, it's worse than porn.
The
acting,
writing,
it really
the dialogue
It's
is
about the same level. Porn acting.
the dialogue is awful. It's boring. I've already mentioned it feels too long. The slashers are the highlight. In my opinion, there's no rewatch value to this at all. But Jared's seen it several times. Frank owns it, so who knows? The best thing I can say about this movie is it's better than The Oregonian.
I thought you were going to say it's over with.
It's better than The Oregonian. I gave this a 2.
Wow.
But before we move on, I want to get to the budget.
I got a lot of things to
all
say.
right.
I had to Google something really quick. Friday the 13th, Part 1. The first one, before it was a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
That was what, 80s, 81? And was a bottom of the barrel, super low budget horror movie, right? Was what it was supposed to be. I mean, it wasn't something that they had a lot of money coming in. It would be considered a really low budget. It was $700,000 in 1981.
Okay.
For Friday the 13th.
Okay.
I'm saying
I mean,
I
would do this. Google how much 700,000 is today, and then Google from 81 to today, and then Google how much 165,000
in
2001 is to today.
Really low budget horror movies.
Friday the 13th is going to have a really high budget compared to this movie.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Because
And it
we were
shows.
talking about. Yeah, I was saying this is a really low budget.
Let's not fight about money, guys.
Right, but I'm saying low budget, and I'll ask Justin Seaman when I interview him. I'll get his perspective because he does low budget horror.
Yeah.
What is? Give me your budget. Give me your budget that you're working on. I guarantee you, it's not $200,000.
Yeah, I'm not saying they did a great job. I'm just saying $165,000 budget in 2000 wasn't shit. I mean, it's
for a low budget movie. That's a lot. That's all I'm saying.
Let's stop fighting about money, guys.
Because they're making movies for $10,000, low budget. So that's what I'm saying.
I think I understand. Jason's saying they could have done more with the money they had.
And I see.
I don't know where the money went because
They didn't use film. Film would be more expensive.
Shot on video.
I think it's more confusing of how Friday the 13th got such a great product.
It was probably a paintball arena that wasn't even in business anymore.
The slashers for a movie that's a bigger.
It was
idea.
all those Asian cheerleaders that cost.
You can
now I know where it is.
You can do really low budget movies if you're keeping a small story that doesn't require.
I promise you,
they shot for the stars with their idea.
Yeah, one camera.
Most of the money. I promise both of you guys. Most of the money.
It probably went Coke.
Most of the money
and beer.
in this,
I mean, it's Canadian.
I think most of the money in this movie went to the girl that showed her tits. I swear to God, that's where it went. I promise you.
My only point I meant to make is like when you say in 2000 it was $165,000 budget, like that is pretty much saying this is going to be a terrible quality movie. Was my point.
For sure. But give us $165,000. I guarantee you we do a lot more with it.
Oh yeah, we could make slashers. We could make slashers.
Better.
No problem.
Let's remake the slashers.
Scene for scene, we're remaking it. I want to say before we get on an hour-long tangent about fucking budgets.
What I really want
talk about what I liked about the movie.
What I really want to happen is you guys to get a $165,000 in 2000 equivalent today budget.
We're gonna get graphs.
Guys,
next episode, all graphs.
I want to see that. I want to see that movie.
Still can do it. We could make a better movie.
Now that Jason said some rather pointed things about this movie, I have another view about it.
And while I'm talking,
it costs $27,000.
I'm not arguing anything you said about it.
Honestly, I think we're agreeing.
Yeah,
we're agreeing with each other.
You're arguing.
I was saying. All I was doing is saying I concur.
Okay. Well, this is one.
Got me hot.
See, this is one of my favorite low budget shitty movies. I've loved it since I bought it on VHS at Family Video. I've probably watched it like literally a dozen times. It's one of those ones you can just put on and let it go, and it's the equivalent of going through one of those haunted house fun house things for me. It's that scary, it's that fun, it's exactly that. I like the characters, I have fun with it. I know the beginning of the movie is very grating. I even told Jason when I dropped it off, I'm like, the beginning of the movie is gonna fucking kill you, man, because it really is bad, like really bad. But there's charm here that I think that the slashers themselves are kind of like professional wrestlers. So if you don't like professional wrestling, you probably won't like this movie. But it's just it's that level of cheesiness. There's no good acting. It's like watching porno actors. Megan is a horribly annoying character.
And she ends up being the main character.
She is, and she's only not annoying for one scene.
I will give was a Dr. Ripper, like he
obsessed.
Isn't he the one that keeps cutting the shirts off? Like she wears like 3 different shirts in this movie.
Yes, he is obsessed with take your shirt off, Megan.
Give him props for that.
Yeah. I love how they really try to make this, like, part of the charm for me is how much they try to make the dialogue like important. Like they're trying to say something about whatever the fuck it is. But
Megan's reason. Yeah. Megan's reason for coming on the show was as soon as she started talking, I checked out.
And then I'm always
until she got her shirt cut off.
Yeah. I'm always a sucker for a bad psycho. And the guy that turns into a killer at the end or whatever, he's just bad. It's bad. But 8 out of 10 for me, man. You know I like a bologna sandwich. I like a bologna sandwich movie, and this is fucking a bologna sandwich.
This ain't bologna, Frank. This
Oh,
isn't
well,
close
it's
to bologna.
that weird loaf, then. And I like that too. Jared.
Yeah,
Did you watch this one?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I watched it.
Oh yeah, you've seen this more.
Yeah,
He
I've
didn't
seen
even
it more.
need to watch it. He knows what happens.
Yeah, I give this one a 5 on what it is. Jason's right. I'm not going to argue. The movie's utter garbage.
I don't even argue that. Nope.
It's
8 out of 10.
the acting in it is it's one of the worst acted movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's worse than porno.
Yeah, this is
Also
absolute.
has that kind of like a soap opera feel to it.
It's absolute trash cinema. They went for a reality TV show feel. And
Didn't even capture that.
yeah, that's I don't understand.
yeah, and they couldn't.
Well, I
do
do
it.
understand because it was a Canadian film that made to look like a Japanese.
And
Dude, hold on a minute. We can capture reality TV right here. Jared, did you drink my fucking Coke, dude?
stop.
I was just saying.
It's a garbage movie. I have watched it multiple times. I won't lie. It's a fun, Mystery Science Theater 3000 style movie.
I've never seen anything on there worse than this.
I have, other than the first time I watched it, I've never put this movie in alone because it's like I want to watch this. But I have hung out with people where we're getting drunk or whatever, like out at Scott's house, where you want to put in a garbage movie because you're not really into the movie, but you want something to make fun of. I've watched it a few times doing that, and it's good for that. Like if you got, like what we don't.
You're
do
drunk. Pop it in.
We don't do it as much anymore, but back in the day when we were youngsters.
Oh yeah.
You know, sometimes you're just having fun, a whole group of friends, and you're dicking around, and so you throw in a garbage movie that everyone can make fun of. This works as that. There's a lot to laugh at because it's terrible, and the slasher characters are somewhat cool. So, you know, you got the horror movie. So, I give it a 5 on the idea that it's a good one to throw in to make fun of. But my biggest problem with it is it feels like it's 2 hours 15 minutes long. There are parts that just get so slow and it feels like it's for the purpose of making a coherent story,
They try really hard.
and it fails so bad. Like you should just, it doesn't, other than the violent parts and probably the boobs, you should just cut about 45 minutes of this movie out. Any of it.
Just fast forward
It doesn't matter.
to the kills.
Yeah, just any of it. It could not. The story could
Those
not
aren't
make
even that good.
sense.
We've spent too much time on this movie.
Let's talk about budgets.
Yeah. Anyways, that's our fucking show, guys. Right?
Yeah,
Is it?
that's
yeah,
all
we're
of
at the
them.
end of the.
3 of them already?
Beyond
Yeah.
the Gates, Mayhem,
Yep.
Slashers,
Yeah, here we
News.
are at the end again. Thanks
Done.
for
Curtis.
listening. Thanks for watching. Check us out at the Beer Vault on the 29th. I'll be there. Jason will be there. Will you be there, Jared?
Jared probably ain't gonna be there.
He's
He
on
don't
the
watch
fence.
the movies. He don't come to the live events.
I'm not on the fence. I told you last month. No,
Me and Jason will be there. Jared will not.
I made it really clear, and then you
Oh
went
yeah,
ahead.
it's fine,
You went ahead and like, well, we're doing it.
No,
That's
I
okay.
wanted to do it. I would do it by myself.
That's fine. I was just saying, I don't know where this fence came in. You were like, hey, do you guys want to do this? And I was
I
like,
think
well,
you left it open a little
I think
bit.
you said if the album is done, maybe I don't want to commit to it, and then
I'm
the
not going
album's
to commit
done.
to anything right now.
So I was just saying.
I think what I said is I've got a lot going on, so I'm going to say no
Good.
because I'm not going to commit to any.
Got it, man.
So that's a firm. I'm going to say no.
we can go back and read it.
Do it.
Me and Jason will be there watching They Live. We'll have guests. I got some people coming to talk about it with us, and
And I'm old.
We'll
we
have
got
fun.
we got a show the night before.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's 7:00 at the Beer Vault. You'll be home by 10. So, no, come on out if you want to come out. It'll be what it is, fun or whatever. I'm gonna have fun. I like that movie.
You can come out and replace me
Yeah.
because I am that
We're
replaceable.
we're gonna let you wear Jared's outfit. What he's wearing today. Get your Mississippi Bones hoodies. Where can you get those at? Bit.ly.
I think off our Facebook store.
There you go. Check it out. See you next time, guys.